said he got a plug on the merch, but we send it through. Lately I've been looking at them primes like they minuscule. Ooh, hold on, gotta see it through. I might hold a sword or the Drake. I got different views. We can't even go out on the walk. We got different shoes. Told you I was...
What up, YouTube? My name is Bone and I bust shots. What's today's video about? My 5 carry gun rotation. These are the 5 guns I've carried over my 9-year carry journey. So let's get into it. First of all, why is carrying even important? So for me, the most valuable thing that I possess is my life. I value my life and I value the lives of my loved ones as well. So it's important to protect that by any means that you have available to yourself, one of which is a firearm. Now, God forbid anything happen to me, God forbid anything happen to you, it is important to be able to protect yourself at all times. So, let's get right on into it. All right, let's kick things off. Now, before I get into this gun, I just want to say this was my very first gun. I bought it at 21. It has served me well. And here 9 years later, I still carry it. And that is the Smith & Wesson Shield. Now this is the single stack version in 9mm. And to show you that it is clear, we have an empty magazine and we have an empty chamber. So this gun comes, at least it did come from factory, with an 8-round magazine with a little bit of space for your pinky and a 7-round magazine that sat flush to the gun to help with aid in concealment. What are the pros? This gun is thin. It is extremely thin, which makes it very easy to conceal, especially in the summertime when you may be wearing tighter clothing, t-shirts, things like that. This is very easy to conceal. Additionally, one of the major pros for me is the safety on the shield. Now, I'm not the biggest fan of having safeties on my carry guns nowadays, but when I was first starting out, the safety made me feel comfortable about carrying a firearm, as it does a lot of people who are just new to the firearms world. Now, why do I love this safety so much? It's flush with the firearm, and you have to be very apparent about turning it on and off. So, I can turn it on to activate it in the up position, press it down, it's deactivated, but one thing you'll notice, if I rub my hand across here, or if some clothing were to rub across there, or when I present the gun, it cannot get activated or deactivated on accident. You have to be very intentional to activate or deactivate this safety. That prevents snags, that prevents accidental activation of the safety when you draw the gun, that prevents accidental deactivation of the safety when you want it to be safe, and it's just an all-around great mechanism. Now, what are the cons? Well, first con, it does not have a pick rail up front, which is going to make it a little bit more difficult to mount your lights and lasers. Crimson Trace does, in fact, have lights and lasers for this gun, and you can get an integrated laser system, but your options are still going to be limited compared to other guns that have Picatinny rails on the front. Now, one of the other cons is it is thin. Now, I just said that that was a pro. Why is it a con? Well, I would say, medium-sized hands, and this gun was a little bit too thin in my hand, and it didn't have the aggressive stippling that I wish it did have, and so in the summertime, when my hand would sweat, it would be very slippery, right, especially on my draw. So what have I done to mitigate that situation? I added a hole grip. And a hole grip is just a simple piece of rubber that you can slide over the handle of the gun. That just gives you a little bit more width, as well as a nice little finger groove here. But what more can I say about this gun? My first carry gun, I still carry it today. I love it. And I would give it, I'd give it a 7 to a 7.5 out of 10. All right, gun number 2. Smith & Wesson 9C. This is a 9mm single stack to show you that it is clear. Empty magazine and empty chamber. So, what are the pros of this gun? Well, unlike the Shield, it feels great in my hand. It has a wider grip, and it has some nice slide serrations back here to help you rack the slide with ease. And it's also got a Picatinny rail on the front, so you can mount your lights, lasers, plenty of accessories with relative ease. Now, what are the cons? First and foremost, the size to capacity ratio does not match up with today's standards. Initially, when it came out, it had 12 rounds in the magazine. It came with two 12-round magazines, one with a pinky extension and one that set flush for concealability. That was respectable at the time, but now with today's standards, with guns like the Springfield Hellcat and the Sig P365, that does not match up with this gun here. So we've got 12 rounds in a gun that is significantly larger than those other two guns I just mentioned. Those guns, you can get 10, 12, 15 round magazines that are still smaller and easier to conceal than this gun here. So that's a major con. The other con is the trigger is trash. So to show you, it is a very gritty trigger, and you can actually audibly hear that. Hopefully you can hear it on the mic. The wall is not as definitive as I would like it. And then we've got a reset, which is also rather lengthy. So I am not a fan of this trigger whatsoever. And the last con that I'll mention is the safety. So unlike the Shield that I just reviewed, the safety on this gun is like a bird wing safety. It protrudes from both sides of the gun about 1/4 inch, and it snagged all the time for me. It snagged on my clothes. I would present the gun after I drew it and would accidentally hit it with my thumb. So that means when you want the gun to be safe, you may accidentally knock it off safe. When you want to shoot it, you may accidentally knock it onto safe. And so that was problematic for me, so much so that I actually reached out to Smith & Wesson and got a safety removal kit and just took the safety off entirely. So those are the pros and cons of the Smith & Wesson 9C. And I would give this gun about a 6.5 out of 10. Gun number 3, Ruger LCP Custom. Show you that it is clear. Have an empty magazine and an empty chamber. So this is the LCP Custom. It has some upgrades over the original LCP, such as higher sights, which makes target acquisition that much easier. It also has a better trigger. And the cool thing about this trigger is it's red, so it gives the gun a nice, unique look to it without being over the top. And it comes with 2 magazines, a 7-round magazine with room for your pinky, as well as a 6-round flush magazine to just aid in concealability. Now, this is not difficult to conceal at all. I used to wear it use it with basketball shorts or joggers when I was going to the store or the gym, in a holster, of course. And it is extremely easy to conceal, and it still packs enough of a punch to be formidable with the 380 round. Now, what are the cons? The cons are it is small and it shoots a 380. So just I mentioned that was a pro, but it's also a con in that you're going to feel the recoil of this gun significantly. It's pretty difficult to get accurate follow-up shots because the gun tends to bounce around. Another con is it only holds 6 and 7 rounds, so you can only expect or want so much out of a gun this small, but I wish it did hold just a few more rounds for my liking. Now, there is one pro that I forgot to mention, and that is, fortunately, this gun has a recessed hammer. It is a hammer-fired firearm, but the hammer is recessed. So right now, the hammer is actually in the back position, but you cannot see it because it sits flush with the back of the pistol. So that cuts down on snags, and it cuts down on just getting hung up in your clothes, hung up with your hand, whatever it may be. So that is a pro of this gun. Overall, I give this gun 7.5 out of 10. Gun number 4, Now, before I pick this up, I just want you to know this is one of my absolute favorite carry guns ever made. Can you guess what it is? H&K VP9 SK. Show you that it is clear, empty magazine, empty chamber. So, why is this one of my favorite carry guns ever made? First and foremost, the trigger is phenomenal. Show you a little bit. Take out the slack. It has a definitive wall. It's a smooth trigger, definitive wall, brakes, and a nice reset. Now, why is it important for a trigger to have a definitive wall? And what is a wall? A wall is essentially the stopping point that you reach right before the firearm fires. And it's important to have a definitive wall so that you can know exactly when that gun is going to go off. And if you become proficient in shooting, you can rest your finger right against that wall and not fire until you just break a little bit further, right? So that's very important. This gun has one of the best out the box stock triggers that I have ever fired. I highly recommend you check it out for yourself and see if you like it. An additional pro to this gun, the handle variations are second to none. So you have replaceable back straps here that come in small, medium, and large size. In addition, you have straps on each side that also come in small, medium, and large size. So what does that mean? You have 27 different combinations for how you can configure the handle of this gun to meet your hand's needs precisely. This gun feels right now like it is surgically attached to my hand. It feels like it's a piece of my body. So those are two of the major pros of this gun. In addition to that, it does come with a pick rail. You see I have an O-Light currently mounted on mine. And then my version, last but not least, came with cutout straight from the factory for a red dot sight. Now, let's talk about the cons. This here is the 13 round magazine with the pinky extension. It also comes with a 10 round flush magazine, but to be quite honest, that's not cutting it. H&K kind of falls short, relatively consistently. They consistently fall short of the size to capacity ratio of so many other manufacturers. Unfortunately, this gun at most carries 13 when you put in the, from factory it carries at most 13 when you put in the magazine with the pinky extension. Now, why is that a problem? Because you have much smaller guns, like I mentioned earlier, that carry up to 15 and still have a smaller profile than this. So that is a major con to this gun. But with that being said, me personally, I can overlook that for the ergonomics and the trigger alone. I give this about 8.5 out of 10. And I highly recommend that if you get a chance, you go shoot this. Tell me what you think about it in the comments below. All right, last gun. I appreciate you for sticking with me this far. Gun number 5. This is my EDC Sig P365. Show you that it is clear. Empty magazine. Empty chamber. So, what are the pros? First and foremost, it looks great. I have a two-tone model here. It has serrations on both the back and the front, so you can do a press check. You can pull the slide back relatively easily. And it has a proprietary rail system on the front, so you can add lights and lasers with relative ease. Now, what is the pro of this gun? Well, first and foremost, the size. It is small, but not too small. It still handles the recoil of a 9mm very well. But it's easy to conceal, and that's the main thing that I love about it. That's why I carry this every day now. As the name suggests, the P365 was meant to be carried 365 days a year. So it comes with two 10-round magazines from factory. This is the flush 10-round magazine, and then it also comes with a 10-round magazine with a pinky extension. Now, like I mentioned earlier, I like to have 3 fingers on the gun, and I can just barely get my pinky finger on this. So it's still relatively comfortable for me. The Pro here, it definitely has a great size to capacity ratio. There are 12 and 15 rounds factory magazines that you can get for this gun that don't add too much size, and it's still relatively easy to conceal. The trigger, smooth take up. Once again, a very definitive wall. It breaks. Take up, and a nice reset. So, I love the trigger. Not as much as the VP9 SK, admittedly, but I do love the trigger. I love the size of it, the size to capacity ratio. I love the look. In terms of cons, it would be nice if this gun had a regular Picatinny rail. I do know that that would add some width to it, but that would be nice just to kind of increase your options of lights and lasers that you can mount. But other than that, I really have no cons for this gun. This is a great shooter. Once again, I highly recommend you go out to the range, try one, borrow one if you can, shoot one at the range, and let me know what you think in the comments below. I give this, I might be biased, but I give this a 9 out of 10. It's my EDC, and I love it. All right, that is my 5 carry gun rotation. Comment below what you think. Also, let me know, what is your carry gun rotation? Is there anything I should check out, anything I need to add to my collection? You let me know. Don't forget to like the video, comment below, and subscribe. And remember, shoot smart, shoot safe, have fun. Bone out.